joining me to color. Today we're going to be working on this adorable Magnolia image called Tilda with cozy hearts. Isn't she cute? I will put a link down in the description box of the card kit and all the supplies I used. I would love for you to come shopping with me. If you have a question, leave me a comment and I'll make sure to get back to you. Otherwise, I already stamped my image on Neenah 80-pound solar white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink. So let's color. So let's start out by giving our girl a quick outline, and for that we're going to use C00. And we're not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to start here at the edge of her outfit and go all the way around. I like to do this first so that I don't have to worry about touching the girl that's already colored and picking up ink and bringing it out into the background. Also, if I touch her with some colors now, it's easier to erase because there's nothing on there. And I like to do the outlining because it gives it a little bit of a shadow around the outside so that she doesn't look quite so flat on the paper. Down here. And don't forget to do this little space right here between her hair and her face. So let's start out by doing her skin and her cheeks first. For that we're going to use E11, 21, 00, 000, E50, and for cheeks I'm going to use E93. I'm going to start with my E11. And let's start down here in her legs first. So I'm going to do a tiny dab of my E11 right underneath of her shorts, or her skirt, whichever that may be. And I'm going to go along the bottom of her leg and over to her knee. I also do this knee. And then over here, let's do a small line down the edges of her legs. And then I'm going to do E21. And for my E21, I like to touch down on top of my last color, which was E11, and flick out. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this in from the side too. And we'll do the same thing for this leg. And then I want to add E00. And I like to go over her entire leg. I'm going to brush those edges of those lines just a second time here. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of a yellow tone by adding E50. So I'm just going to go over her entire leg. And you could skip this part if you don't like the yellowish tone. So let's hop up here and we'll do her arms. So again, let's start with E11. And I'm going to do this side. Next I want to add E21. And then we're going to add E00. And then we want to go over all of that with our E50. Then we'll hop up here and we'll do her face. So grab E11. And for E11, I'm going to do a little bit here for her nose. Let's give her a little path for her nose. I'm going to give her one there. And then over here, we're going to do a little dab down kind of where her cheek flares out. And then I'm going to go across here. And up in here where her hair is, not covering her bangs or not covering her forehead. And over here to the edge of that heart. Then I'm going to add E21. Whoops. And I want to continue my line all the way on this side, so let's draw that in. And then we're going to brush away from our E21 or E11. I'll bring this out just a little bit more. And next we'll add E00. And then E000. And I'm not worried about it being blotchy because we're going to add a second coat after we do our cheeks. So for cheeks, we're going to do E93. And she's got little dots here that I'm going to use as my guide. So same for this side. Try to keep it kind of in that area. Then I'm going to come in with E21. E00. E000. I think I'll give it another coat of my E93. And then I'm going to go over her entire face with my E50. For her hair, we're going to use E47, 44, 23, 13, and 31. We're going to start with our E44. And let's start up here with this little pigtail. flick up away from her bangs. And we'll add a tiny dab over here to her pigtail. Next, we want to add E23. Work our way over to the other side. And we'll add E13 next. And then we will fill all that in with our E31. And then lastly, I will add E47, my darkest, so that I don't hopefully get too carried away. For her pants, or her skirt, whichever you want to call it, we're going to use B97, 95, 93, and 91. We're going to start with our B97. I only want to add that a little bit in where it's the darkest. So here's a little spot right here that's between her boot and the little heart. So I'm going to color that. And I'm going to go all the way up underneath of that heart. And then on this side, there's a little spot right here that's between her boot and the little heart. Next, we're going to add B95. So again, we want to add a little bit of that where we want it to be darkest. So let's go right next to her leg. Right up it by her shoe. Then we're going to add B93. And I'm trying not to color the outside of the ruffle because we're going to leave that white. And then we're going to fill in the rest of those with our B91. Okay, so I'm going to try to leave this edge white. Be really careful. Let's see over here. Pretty quick. For her boots, we're going to use E49, 44, 43, and 42. And I'm going to start with my E44. And let's start over here. I'll brush right along the edges. And same for this side. And we also want to do a little dab above this line on our boot. And then this line right here, we'll do a little dab. And then for this boot, we want to do the same thing. So let's do right down this side. And I didn't worry about those little circles on the top of her boots. I just colored right over the top of that. And then over this little bump, and then a little bit on this line. Then we're going to add E43. So I make sure to touch down on top of my E44. And this boot over here. And then we'll go with E42. I'm going to cover in the rest of my boot. And I don't worry that it's not blending because I want to add a second coat. I want my boots to be a little bit darker. Then we're going to add another coat of our E44. We'll do this boot over here. And then we'll do our second coat of E43. and then a second coat of E42. And then for the center here, where there's still that little spot, I like to kind of go in a little circle and swirl it around. And this side. Then I'm going to finish them off with a little bit of my E49. So let's do a little bit on the sole here. And then I want to go along the edge of where the sole touches the shoe. And then I'm going to go along the edge of my boot. And this little crease. And then we want to do the same thing for this side. And I think for that little center section right here, I'm going to grab my E43 and brush just a little bit more right here. And maybe a little bit on this one. For her socks and her shoelaces, we're going to add some W1. And we're not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to go right over the top of my laces. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this to her socks. Like that. So for the heart and the hair bows, we're going to use our 89, 39, 37, 35, and 32. And let's start up here at these little hair bows with our 89. And we're not going to use too much of that. We're going to do a little dab here on this little spot between her hair where it's connected, and then a little line on each of the bows. And then I'm going to add our 37. And then we'll fill it in with our R32. And I tend to cover up the top here and then pull down towards the middle. And we'll hop down here and we'll do this little heart. So for that, we're going to start with our 89. And let's do underneath the bottom here first. Do a little dab underneath of her arms. Try not to color her arm. And then up here at the top, let's do a little bit on the side and then on the top of her arm. Whoops. There, see, I colored her arm. That's no good. Come around the side here. We'll see what we can do with that here in a minute. Then I'm going to add R39. And then we'll bring this up here. hold my pen a little bit better. Hopefully we won't color any more of her arm. Then we'll add our 37. And then we'll fill it in with our R35. And I like to use this to go over the, oh, good heavens there, I colored her whole arm. That's no good. But to go over the whole heart area, definitely don't color her whole arm with that. I don't think I did bring my colorless blender in here. Let's see if we can, whoops, guess I'm not going to fix it that way. Okay, so after I retrieve my pen from the floor, let's see if we can take our colorless blender and maybe push this back just a little bit. See if we can get it off of her arm. And then I let it dry for a little second. And then I'm going to push it again. And let that dry. Let's do this side. I got a little bit right here. Let's see if we can do that same thing with this one. Okay, we'll try that. But then let's fix her arm. So I'm going to do E double 0 to see if we can cover that back up. Okay, not too bad. Next, let's give her something to sit on. So for the ground, I'm going to use W1 and W00. I'm going to start with W1. And I want to go up here past her skirt. So let's start, how about right here? We'll come down beside, be careful right here beside the boot. You don't want to pick up any of that E49, it's pretty dark, and pull it out into the outside. Get in between there. And again, be careful of this boot on that side. And then let's bring it across right here. That. And then I'm going to add W00. Oops, sorry about that, I didn't have all the way in the screen. So I'm going to go right over the top of my W1 and pull out here into my white. And then I'm going to go back with a second coat of my W1. And I try to do it a little bit more streaky, so maybe not quite as filled in. Just add a few little streaks of color in there. And again, be careful going around your boot. You don't want to pick up any of that E30 or 49 because it's pretty dark. So there is our Tilda with Cozy Heart all colored up. Isn't she adorable? Then for my finished card, I have did some Spica glitter pen in clear to her hair, Wink of Stella clear brush pen to both of the hearts. I did a Sharpie white paint pen for her dots on her cheeks, and for her eyes this time I did the Sakura Jelly Roll black pen to make those really black and shiny. She's popped up, and the Cinnamon's popped up. The little cinnamon is from the CC Design Smoochy Cinnamon set. You do not get the stamp set with that. You get this one cinnamon, so you can use that, or you can trace this tag onto a piece of white cardstock and cut out another one. Otherwise, everything else is flat. So I hope you had fun coloring with me today. If you have a question, leave me a comment and I will make sure to get back to you. Otherwise, I hope you're having a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye.